Hello, I'm Jonathan Scott, and welcome to On Air Education, a show dedicated to helping teachers, parents, and students with distance and blended learning. Producing and hosting On Air Education, we soon learned that teaching math and science requires a different approach than teaching history and English. And further, teaching art and music is way different than teaching special education or English as a second language. On one of my morning walks around the neighborhood, I had an epiphany, and you know how painful that could be. Who's teaching our teachers? And in doing so, I realized, how can we expect teachers who've been in front of a live classroom their entire career to be able to engage their students on a 13-inch computer screen? So we've called upon our many Las Vegas headline entertainers to share their performance tricks with our teachers, parents, and students. Today's guest has performed an incredible 5,720 shows to more than 1 million audience members at the main showroom at Harrah's Las Vegas. That translates to 2,680 days of plaid suits worn, 17,160 feet of rope used for Matt King's famous rope trick, 287,440 playing cards, 17,160 magically appearing Fig Newton pastries, and 28,600 audience volunteers. Please welcome the King of Magic, Matt King. Howdy, Mac.
Howdy, Jonathan. Where did you get that information?
From your 20-year-old bio.
It's not 20 years old, but it is 10 years old. So I just finished, I don't know whether you count the past year, but I just finished 20 years. And I started in January 2000. That's the easiest way to say it, at Harrah's. Yeah. So all those numbers are doubled. So do that again. The whole thing, but double that math.
For years, Matt King has been an avid supporter of literacy programs for young students, dedicating his personal time at local schools to discuss the importance of reading and showcase magic. In February of 2011, Matt King launched Matt King's Magical Literacy Tour with a mission to promote childhood literacy and provide more reading opportunities for children in Las Vegas. To date, Matt King's Magical Literacy Tour has provided more than 20,000 books to children at underprivileged schools. It's amazing that you can read.
No, I can't read. I'm from Kentucky. But
I've been to Kentucky.
Yeah.
I went to a bar that had a two-tooth minimum.
That's right. That's why they call it the toothbrush.
What holler or lick did you grow up in?
Right. There's a place in Kentucky called Big Bone Lick. Actually, there's a town.
Yes, it's probably near French Lick.
It is. That's in Indiana, by the way.
There's a French Lick in Kentucky.
Is there?
There's French Licks, I think, in every state.
Oh, okay, all right.
Also joining us from Dayton Elementary School. Did I say it correct?
You did.
Robert Hollywood. Did I say that correct?
Yes, you absolutely said that correct as well.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for bringing your lab coat. I have to ask you how you're doing with, first of all, distance learning and blended learning with where we are right now.
Well, fortunately, right now, I've been able to go back and start seeing students in person again, but because the way the specialists at elementary schools are being utilized, I'm not exactly teaching science now. Instead of getting to teach just science, I'm branching out and also teaching in collaboration with my art teacher, my music teacher, my PE teacher, and library. And so I'm really doing it all right now and providing some simplified science lessons for them to do with their student groups. So we're in transition yet again. But distance learning was pretty interesting as a science teacher. Let me tell you, I had to really rethink the way things worked, because the way I teach science is an hands-on sort of thing. And when you got kids on the other side of a computer screen, it's really hard to get them supplies.
Well, that's one of the questions that our associate producer, Carol Adams-Tatar, suggested. What do you do to convince your students that science is cool and not just for nerds?
Well, I mean, I do try to do things that are really engaging. You hit topic areas that kids would be interested in. So if you're teaching about chemistry, you might talk about how chemistry is responsible for explosions. And so kids are like, okay, tell me more about explosions. Or if you want to talk about Yeah,
Let's have some explosions.
I
Right?
absolutely do a small scale explosion in class. And that was one of my challenges with distance learning is, yeah, I want the kids to go out and actually do one of these small scale explosions at home, but I don't want them to ruin mom and dad's carpet. I don't want them to stink up the house because it's vinegar and baking soda. But I saw kids getting out there on their driveway and trying to do this explosion themselves as I'm trying to talk through the process. So
Now, I wasn't thinking, but how big of an explosion does it make?
it's a pretty small scale explosion. You use a snack size Ziploc bag,
Yeah.
and about 2 tablespoons worth of baking soda in a paper cup, so the reaction doesn't start before you get the bag closed. So you put vinegar around that paper cup, you close this snack size bag, and then you tip it over, and the bag will just go whoosh, bang.
But it makes a mess all over.
It does make a mess all over.
We didn't consider that part of it. We thought we were going to have Robert do the experiment here in the studio.
Oh, let's do it.
No, when I asked your people, they were like, "We're not prepared for a mess." So.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know it was a messy thing. It was like a little. So the reason I invited our friend Matt King here was to try and draw an analogy between magic and science. So how can you help us with that?
Well, I mean, I think they're similar. We were talking prior about that people sometimes consider them the opposite, right? So science is for the truth, magic is for illusion, right?
Okay.
But when I'm working on a brand new trick, I feel like I use the scientific method, and I think learning to do a few magic tricks really helps you be a better scientist too, or better anything almost. You know, I mean, all I'm really doing working on a new magic trick is problem solving, right? So if I want to make a ball float in the air, make it look like a ball, I can't really make a ball float in the air.
I thought you could.
Well, I'm really not as good as you think.
I see money in a shot glass.
Oh yeah, I got all sorts of stuff here. Here, I'll do a trick.
Yeah, let's do
you
it.
Take that glass of water,
Okay.
a little shot of water, pour it into the coffee cup. Make sure that that's out of the frame.
Kind of
There
little.
you go.
Okay.
And I give it a little Mac King magic breath,
Right.
and hold out your hand. Get that, a little shot there, and you get ice.
All right.
That's my magic ice breath.
Can you explain
I will
the
explain.
thermodynamics between...
Or a sponge.
You're watching On Air Education, and our guest today is the headliner for Harrah's for the last, 20 years, 21 years.
Can you count the last year?
Yeah.
20, let's say 20.
Let's say 20 years, Matt King, and holding the ice, our science teacher from Staten Elementary School, Robert Hollywood. And I'm Jonathan Scott. We're going to take a very short commercial break. 60 seconds. We'll be right back. Stay right where you are.
Whoever you are, you're one of us. Whatever you want, we'll get you there. If you're not like anyone else, you're just what we're looking for. It's time to enroll in your future. Nevada State College.
Welcome to the Great American Pub, a great place to hang out with your friends, watch a game, and enjoy some great pub food. Our kitchen is open 24/7 with our full menu. Try some of our signature dishes like lobster mac and cheese or clam chowder. Join us at the Great American Pub and enjoy happy hour specials. Grab a drink and enjoy great pub food from all over the country right here in Las Vegas. The Great American Pub with 2 great locations, 215 in Eastern and Flamingo in 215.
In a changing world, it's time to change how we look at college. That's why Nevada State College provides excellence with affordability, a campus with diversity, and programs that offer opportunity. Nevada State College. Be bold, be great, be state.
And we're back. Jonathan Scott hosting On Air Education, trying to help our teachers and our parents and our students with distance learning and also with blended learning now that some of the kids are going back to school. Joining us from Staten Elementary School here in Clark County, Robert Hollywood, and of course our friend Matt King, who's done magic all of his life. It was your grandparents that started you.
Yeah, I started when I was a little kid. My dad's dad showed me how to do my first trick, and my mom's dad had some magic books at his house, and he would do a trick for me, and I would beg him for the secret, and he would say, that's in one of those books. And I think that's how, I mean, I later, as I was much older before I realized that was kind of a scam to get me to read. But I mean, I think that instilled a love of reading in me, and that's one of the reasons I do that book drive that book thing that you were talking about.
Oh, that book thing. You mean literacy.
I can't say that whole literacy word.
When did the plaid come in?
It's my grandpa's suit. This particular one isn't. This was, I bought it in a
Macy's.
store. Yeah.
So if you can help our teacher here with a secret of engagement, when did you start learning how to engage, and what do you do to engage your audience?
Well, I mean, I've done a few things via Zoom, magic tricks, and some visits at hospitals and some things like that. And one of the things for me, and I'm sure this is the same for you, live or in person, is you can't make eye contact really, but you can pretend, right? So it's sort of an acting skill, really, to look at the camera as if you're talking to one of those students, because you are talking to one of those students at a time, right? And it's really hard. I mean, we have a monitor here with our picture on it, and it's really hard especially if you're staring at a computer screen, it's really hard not to look at your own face instead of the lens. I know. Because you find yourself very attractive, I'm sure.
I've heard a lot of entertainers say that they pick out one person in the audience for a live
show. I mean, I kind of try to do that, especially in the front. I'm looking at the first guy in the front row, but I'm also looking, apparently, can't see him, but I'm looking at, apparently I'm trying to make eye contact with somebody in the back row too. And sometimes in a lighter show, that's the second row for me. But
So, Robert, has engagement been a big problem with you and your students with distance learning?
I mean, certainly the students that are interacting with you get most of the attention. It's in some ways not that different than what you experience in the everyday classroom. Is you have some students who really want to engage with you, and some of them that more want to sit back and take things in. So there are more similarities than people think, but it's harder to reach out to those students that you are trying to reach. Like Mac has an audience that comes in and they have a ticket and they have a seat, whereas in the classroom I can go around and say, well, we're going to change up the seating in here so we can maybe draw some more of those guys in the back into the close area, and then you can almost put those people who are more engaged deeper into the room and have them interact with you, because they'll naturally interact with you, and try to do more engagement in person. And so that's where the division is with the virtual learning, is you can't move that guy who's not engaged with you, or that girl who's not really focused closer to you, or do any of those strategies you would do in person in that virtual classroom.
How old are the kids that you're teaching?
So I'm working with kindergarten, which is 5 years old, all the way up into fifth grade, which is 10 and 11 years old. And so it's a broad range of ages, and even in person, and online, it's very different. Engaging what you would do with a kindergartner, where you can be more silly, whereas if you do that with a fifth grader, they'll put you out of the room.
I always thought that the science teacher was kind of the kooky, fun teacher.
Yeah, I mean, you are, but when you're starting to get to fifth grade, where you're going to be transitioning them to middle school, where science gets very granular and serious, you do have to really start laying on some detail, if you know what I mean.
I do not know what you mean.
Okay.
Don't ever assume that I know what you mean, because I couldn't memorize the element charts. But I loved when we were dissecting
charts, right? Isn't it?
What's it called? What's it called?
Periodic table.
The periodic table
Of elements.
That's why I always run into trouble on
Elements.
Jeopardy when it gets to that. So, Mac, you brought something else today.
I got all sorts of stuff. I mean, here's an engaging thing. This is something I used to do in my act, actually, where I would say, you guys all know this science trick is where you do this, right? Right?
Yes. I use that.
Well, you use that?
I do, yeah.
Here's a way to make it even better, I think. Because it's kind of lame just getting that much. But you get the whole straw full of water if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, which I don't. Oh! Your third graders will love that.
So that, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, my principal would tell you I do not mind making a mess. So
Obviously, me neither.
Yeah, well, we'd love to have you back sometime when we'll get some hefty and we'll put it all down.
Right.
Because I was looking forward to being like Letterman or being like Johnny Carson, just amazed with Bill Nye the Science Guy. So what started you, and why did you want to be a science teacher?
Well, to be honest with you, it was an administrator who saw that in me, a willingness to learn, a willingness to expand what I was doing already. And they said, I think you would make a really good science specialist. And so what they said is, we really want to put you in this kind of position. We want to have someone be a science specialist at this school. And so I went about starting to learn more about science because I did not want to be Mr. Misinformation. So I played it real light the very first year. And then, I grew into the role. And so it was just something someone else saw in me, thinking that would be something I'd be good at, that really brought me into it.
Now, what's your favorite part of science to teach?
I really love space science. I think that, as a kid, I was 6 years old when Star Wars was released. And so even though now as an adult, I recognize that's more of a fantasy, I also watched the original Star Trek a lot. And I've always been fascinated by just the idea of going somewhere else, out of what's out there.
We're not the only nerds sitting here.
That's right. We have Robert Hollywood from the Staten Elementary School joining us. And any tips for parents about helping get their kids engaged?
I think that as far as science goes, at least, it's an extremely high interest topic, really. But it's not something to really read about, if you know what I mean. Like, you can do some reading with science, but you also have to have an element where they're doing something. And that's what I do at school. There's always an element of information, building vocabulary, that kind of thing. But when it comes right down to it, you have to have a fun and engaging activity to go with it to really make meaning of what you're talking about. Like there's this one I do in fourth grade when we're talking about rocks and volcanoes, where we're wanting to talk about erosion, which is this slow thing that it's very hard for a student who's only maybe 9 or 10 years old to conceptualize it, that the Grand Canyon came from water running over it or rocks rubbing together. But we do things like we build small versions of canyons by making a cornmeal mixture and dripping water on them, and watch how it washes them away.
And that's probably messy too.
Yeah, it is messy. That's probably the messiest thing I do.
You're watching On Air Education with our guest, Robert Hollywood, and of course, magician Matt King. We're going to take another quick 60-second break. You're watching On Air Education. I'm Jonathan Scott. Stay right where you are. Come on back.
In a changing world, it's time to change how we look at college. That's why Nevada State College provides excellence with affordability, a campus with diversity, and programs that offer opportunity. Nevada State College. Be bold, be great, be state.
Welcome to the Great American Pub, a great place to hang out with your friends, watch a game, and enjoy some great pub food. Our kitchen is open 24/7 with our full menu. Try some of our signature dishes like lobster mac and cheese or clam chowder. Join us at the Great American Pub and enjoy happy hour specials. Grab a drink and enjoy great pub food from all over the country right here in Las Vegas. The Great American Pub with 2 great locations, 215 in Eastern and Flamingo in 215.
Whoever you are, you're one of us. Whatever you want, we'll get you there. If you're not like anyone else, you're just what we're looking for. It's time to enroll in your future. Nevada State College.
And welcome back. I'm Jonathan Scott. You're watching On Air Education, trying to help our parents and students and teachers with distance and blended learning, not only here in Clark County and Las Vegas, but globally. This has become that kind of an issue. We want to welcome our next guest all the way from Nevada State College. We want to thank Nevada State College for being one of our sponsors. Nick Arnett, do the face.
Hi, everybody.
It was so much better in that last take. There you go. Nick Arnett,
lean into it.
Nevada State College, making faces. And also joining us, our friend magician Matt King, who brought in a plethora, if I can use the word plethora, my girlfriend's favorite word, of science and magic books, starting with Chemistry and Magic, Science Magic Tricks. You could get these probably. Do they still have libraries? They haven't burned all the books yet, have they?
They haven't burned all the books yet.
And here's my favorite, my two favorites. That Mac brought in: Science Magic in the Bedroom and Science Magic in the Bathroom. Want to explain these a little bit?
Well, you'll notice there are way more bookmarks in the Science Magic in the Bedroom book.
In the bedroom. Yeah. If there wasn't science in the bedroom, there'd be a lot of unhappy people my age right now. That's all I can say. Doctor, why does it say Dr. Do?
Dr. Do. So I made the mistake of one time during lecture of cracking open my Mountain Dew into the microphone and slurping it really loud. And so the class was like, oh, this guy loves Mountain Dew. And so like for Halloween, students came in dressed as Dr. Nick and they all had Mountain Dews in their hands. I'm like, I was just thirsty, man.
Now, I call Nevada State College the best kept secret in Nevada because our friend Matt King has never been to the campus. And so many people I know have never, and it's a beautiful campus.
Yeah, it's a beautiful campus. It's on the south side of Henderson, pretty much right before you get to Boulder City. You just take it right off the interstate. We got plenty of space. We're growing almost by the day. We got new dorms up. We got a new education building that we just built. And we're the second largest growing institution in the country.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great facility. It's a beautiful campus. Now, how are you engaging your students using distance learning at this point? And you probably have a couple of, are you open? Are you doing blended learning?
Yeah. So currently all my courses are either completely online or hybrid. So hybrid, a little bit of online, a little in person.
Do the face again.
A little bit online. And so for sciences, especially at the college level, right, you have laboratory experiments that are like a mandatory part of the education. So how do you do that online? And so the approach that I took was that I just filmed myself doing the experiments, and I try to edit it so it's actually watchable. Because if you go on YouTube and you just look up, how do I do, this experiment, this procedure, this technique or whatever, the audio is terrible. The guy's trying to talk over huge fans pulling air and you can't hear a thing. And the camera's all shaky. So I wanted to make science videos that are watchable. It was sort of my goal this semester. And so I do, voiceovers in the comfort of my house afterwards so you can very clearly hear the audio. And
can our viewers see any on a website or?
I don't have any posted online. I think they might be owned by Nevada State, and so I didn't want the licensing crew to come down on me from above.
We have friends there. I think we.
But if you enroll in Nevada State,
you can see those videos.
You'll have a front row view.
Now, what is your particular niche, or do you say niche?
Niche.
Your niche of science.
So right now I'm teaching primarily organic chemistry, which is not the chemistry of organic foods, as some of you may assume.
Well, I assumed it was something else altogether.
But it's really just the chemistry of carbon. So we're carbon-based life forms here on Earth, and carbon does almost an infinite number of different reactions. And so organic chemistry is really just a study of carbon itself.
Your witness.
Where was that carbon on the date of 19?
Does that have to do with reducing your carbon footprint?
That's certainly something we could study. Most of the course is geared towards like pre-meds. And so there's like important chemical reactions that pre-meds need to learn for the MCAT and stuff. And so every pre-med knows that organic chemistry is one of the most infamous courses on campus because it's very difficult, but I do everything I can to make it accessible to my students.
And that's really, Nevada State College is known for its medical programs. Yes? No?
Nevada State itself doesn't have a med school, but UNLV. And so you come to Nevada State, get your undergraduate education, and then you're good to go to continue to med school, wherever life takes you.
Now, would you agree that magic and science have something in common?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, what is science if not magic until you understand it?
Yeah,
right?
That's the famous Arthur C. Clarke quote, right?
Science fiction writer.
Yeah, and
He's
it's like
any
I need to read more books.
any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Say that whole thing.
Yeah, I'm going to screw it up. But it's the point would be until you know how it works, advanced technology looks like magic.
Sure.
And I think there's some connection there. I have always used the analogy that if when I'm working on a new trick, I'm sort of using the scientific method. I'm changing one little aspect of it, and if that gets a better reaction, even if it's a joke or a word in a joke, I change it, and then the next show I do it differently, and if it's better reaction, it's just, I think studying science makes everybody a better citizen. It helps you, translate, when you're studying magic, translate written word into physical action, and I think probably chemistry books do the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's now I can put IKEA furniture together.
You're ahead of me. Yeah. Now, how do you encourage other teachers, perhaps, and parents you've stepped out and you're doing videos, which I think is fantastic, and you're noticing one of the things that got us started, the collective us on doing on-air education, is all these Zoom calls that we're seeing with people's dirty laundry behind them, and the dishes were there, and they weren't paying any attention to lighting or audio. And we said, and that's what actually got us started after being on the air for 40 years. We said, well, maybe we can help with some of our broadcasting techniques, help the teachers with engagement. So what advice would you have for other teachers and parents to engage?
So I think one of the key aspects to my approach, and everybody has their own approach, play to your own strengths, but I like to do edutainment type of classes where you try to be a little bit of entertaining while you're being educational. And so I watch way too many YouTube videos. And so I'm very familiar with what you need to do to make at least a video watchable. I can't claim that it's, the most entertaining thing to watch me extract caffeine from coffee, but it's not the worst thing.
Well, that's what I learned, that decaffeinated coffee, they actually put the caffeine in first and then they take the caffeine out, and that's how they make it decaffeinated.
Yeah, so you have to extract the caffeine from the coffee bean and then extract the caffeine from the coffee.
Well, we could go longer and longer, but we're out of time, unfortunately. So I want to thank you, Nick Arnett. For more information, you could reach out to Nevada State College and their website and look at Nick's page for more science information and more classes that are available. And our great friend, Matt King, who hopefully will be back on stage at Harrah's very, very soon. We want to thank also Robert Hollywood from the Staten Elementary School for joining us. If you want more information, you can go to our website, onaireducation.com, and send me an email at info@onaireducation. My name is Jonathan Scott. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope, of course, that you're healthy and happy, and as usual, eat well and party hard, my friends.